Well, hello everyone and welcome back to my studio. In this little lesson, we're going to be painting these peonies, and I thought just to try it out, I went and bought some Lucas Berlin water mixable oil because I could find them at Jerry's Artorama for like $14.99 for one of the big tubes. And because you use a lot of paint when you paint with the catalyst wedge tool. So anyways, I thought I'd show you my colors that I got. I've got out burnt sienna, titanium white, viridian, ultramarine blue, sap green, cad yellow light, Payne's gray, magenta, and burnt sienna. So those are the colors I use. They come in these big tubes, and they were like $14.99 a tube. So I thought that's the way I'm gonna try them out, is to try, because you go through a lot of paint when you use these. When you use the catalyst wedge tools. So I really wanted to try it. I've been asked, can you do it? So in this video, I'm going to be experimenting yet again with the catalyst wedge tool, and also this other tool I have from Amazon that's like it's also a silicone brush. So we're going to use unexpected tools to create unexpected abstract peonies today. So I bought these at Trader Joe's. They look so pretty, and I just have to paint them. So I hope you stick around and watch this video. If you like what I'm doing here, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe and share it with a friend. So let's jump in. So here I'm blocking in with some ultramarine blue and some burnt sienna using that paddle brush. So it's like I would do if I was painting in regular oil. I would just do a wash with some of the turf, but I switched to using water mixable oil paint this past year because I just got tired of dealing with the turp and the paint thinner, you know, and all the chemicals and everything, and I thought it's just so much easier to be able to clean everything up with soap and water. So I went to acrylic and water mixable oil as my main mediums. So that gives a nice rustic feel right there. You can already see the pink is gonna really look good on that color. So I'll use maybe some of this burnt sienna and just sort of doodle where I want to see these flowers. So I take my photos and then I use them in my iPad because it's kind of easy for me to, you know, set up the whole composition. And then also for filming, it's a lot harder unless you have a professional to be able to film and get the flowers in and everything just perfect. I kind of have to wing it myself. So this is what I do. I kind of set up the iPad so you can kind of see everything from my inspiration to how I go about painting, even from a reference photo. So you get the whole shebang today. And so here I have sort of doodled out the different shapes, and now I know kind of where everything basically is going, and I can put my paintbrush away. And I'm gonna start, maybe I get so hooked on using that one catalyst tool. Maybe today I'll start off and I'll mix some of the paint using this silicone brush, and I'll leave a link for that in the description. The sap green came out of the tube really with a lot of linseed oil, which I don't mind the smell of and everything, but it was making a mess, so I just wiped some of that off. So I want to look at this real dark pink that is in the flower, and I'm going to go with something more like that to start with. So I'm going to put that pink in the center. I'm going to add a little hint of sap green to the mix, and like I say, this is the first time I've tried this, so we'll see how it goes. It's always It's always kind of a bravery test for me too. So I know all of you are taking the bravery test, trying this out. So I'm going to start in the middle where I can clearly see in my reference even that it's darker. And same with, there's sort of a side angle that has a lot of dark and some kind of the center in here as well. And I'm really thankful that I prepped my canvas a little. You could prep it with a layer of gesso if you have some just plain white gesso. And this one's mainly white, but there's a little bit of pink in it. So just to kind of get some of that in there, I'm gonna just keep it simple and make it pink too, because white flowers are kind of a whole nother study. So I'm just gonna, it's really great because you can kind of see that I can draw more paint and spread more paint around with that this little thing. And you can scrape away with the side. It does some cool scrapeaways like that. So you can really make some cool marks with this already. I'm enjoying that. So I'm just going to keep, now that my brain is starting to kick into that artist right brain sort of action, I'm going to mix up the next level of pink. So I've added more white, and this white is so it's so different using oil with these tools than acrylic, because, well, first of all, you have more time because it doesn't dry right away, so you have a little more time to manipulate the paint. So I want to be careful not to cover that dark area, because that's going to be my center. Same with a lot of this dark that's coming around here. So I'm going to just start to put a little bit more of that more mid-tone pink in there. And I like that there's some of that. I'm going to add a little bit of that burnt sienna right into that mix, because I see kind of that nice warm color in that flower. This one, this one's kind of gonna be the one I wing it kind of thing, because it's more gonna be there for just to look at. It's not really our focal point flower. Okay, so just keep blocking in, and this flower is facing off to the side. So always kind of take a minute and kind of gauge where your flowers are going. And when I pull away the paint with this thing, it really kind of gives you an idea of some of those, whoopsies, the highlights on the edges of the flowers, which is really cool. You can soften them up. I can show you on this one more. So there's all these little small petals in the middle. You can kind of draw where they're going with this brush. Really nice. Kind of, it gives you a second time to kind of doodle the direction of some of your petals and just add some really cool, interesting marks. And because we're just experimenting, you know, it's just enjoy all the happy accidents, you know, as you make them. So this is giving me a lot of ideas now. When I kind of doodle that in like that, I can kind of see the next level where things are going. So far this tool is really working well, but I'm going to move to I'm going to just leave the paint on that and rest it somewhere, and then I'm going to go back to my spatula here and mix a bunch more of a next shade up. So I'm trying to keep it pretty simple so that you can follow along. And by the way, you can use all these same colors in acrylic, and I've got lots of acrylic peony painting videos as well. So here we go, we got really matches really well that color. So we're gonna now add some of these real poofy kind of shaped, you know, edges and marks for the next level of value here of pink, sort of a lighter value. And you can imagine getting a really large canvas, how dramatic you could make it with all these marks and everything. So much fun to try, and it's really enjoyable using the paint this way. And also, if you want to sort of what they call load your paintbrush, you can sort of see that there's a lot of streaks in there of different pinks. If you wanted to, you could go and apply some of the paint like that, and it just looks, look at that little bit of pink in there. If I had a cameraman, I'd tell him to zoom in there. So you just kind of want to work some of those lighter values in there, and I'm going to mix some more. So as you go, you can mix up some more on your catalyst wedge. And there's really no rules to go by. Just if you start making some marks that really are working for you, you know, just keep going with it. I'm really enjoying that one, the way it's coming out, and there's some of the petals that are kind of coming straight out, so I'm gonna really frilly ones coming off the edge. Just kind of see what happens with your tool. And this one up here, it reminds, this paint, when I put it on with this thing, it reminds me of that marshmallow stuff that you would put in a sundae or something when you were a kid. Kind of has that texture. And I'm gonna say, the less I think about what I'm doing, the better it kind of works. And I talk a lot while I paint when I explain everything, but I don't normally think this hard about what I'm doing. And I want to get some of those kind of those edges there, so I've got some kind of lighter pink, and I'm really loading the tip of my catalyst wedge there, and I really want to get some of those So I'm kind of creating that movement in the center there. And I'm really just looking at my reference there, and I'm going to put some of those marks in there. And I'll get a little bit more white. And I'm going to show you even more so with the white here. Let me just make sure I've got it in the camera. So the white here, just get a little bit of that magenta paint. See how it makes a streak? And kind of keep it in the center like that. And let's see if we can load our catalyst wedge up, and ooh, look at that. It made some really interesting marks. Oh, look at that. That's a real peony petal right there. So, okay, so now I'm gonna leave this for now and go to putting some of the green in, because that'll shift the value again and sort of then recalibrate how we see dark and light again, and then how much, you know, of a highlight we really need on there. So I'm gonna just wipe some of that paint off, you know, clean my little catalyst tool off, and then I'm gonna go back to using this one here, and I'll use some sap. And I don't even care about the pink on my brush because it'll work well to make kind of that grayish green. And I've got that kind of nice real grayish green, and then I'm going to get some viridian, and we can add some real cool green in there too. Add a little white, and so you have a few different greens, and then you can use a little bit of this. So mix up a few different greens for the leaves. And I like to usually start with sort of the darker things and cut into the flowers some of those darker shapes. So just make sure when you get pink on there, you kind of wipe that off the edges a bit so it doesn't completely, you know, lose its dark green look. Trying to kind of navigate that. Just kind of make some of those peony shapes. Ooh, I really like that. That's a really, the viridian mix with the pink really looks good. And you can kind of soften that up a little. So now you can see that contrast really brings out the life in that pink, really sets that up for you know, for some great contrast, and it really brings it out. You always gotta kind of, you know, put in a dark note next to a light note and see where it's going. If it's all light like this against this, it just doesn't give your eye the right kind of ability to see where you're at with the value. So if I go in and put some of that dark green in there, it just gives that flower, it just bounces kind of off the canvas more. So I've been practicing this since January, and I've been posting once a week. So if you like this video, you're gonna find lots more on my channel. So don't forget to head over there, and also adding to my Patreon channel little special kind of tips videos on how to use these tools. Starting to upload those now because it's really been a load of fun, and I've had such good feedback on these. And these are really easy, much easier to work with as far as like you don't have to, you know, clean a brush between each brush stroke. The most you do is kind of wipe your spatula off. And I always put in some green up here, even though, you know, there's technically in the photo there's none. I just, for the painting, I like to have some kind of abstract marks going here and there off the canvas. And it's these moments where you kind of blend in. Take your tool and gently just sort of bring it into the green, or pull the pink into the leaves, that you get some really, really nice strokes. Get a little Payne's gray, and in some spots really go dark to really cut into that background. Okay, so now that I have a few greens in there and some darker, you know, colors in there to kind of contrast with the pink, now I can go and just kind of loosening things up a little. Now I'm going to go in and I can darken some of that pink in there. So I'm going to go back to this other silicone brush now, and I'm going to mix in a little bit of that magenta and some of that burnt sienna, some white. Just kind of want to make a little bit of more of this kind of value here to sort of work in a little bit more shadow into some of the flowers. So just mix up a little bit of that kind of mid to dark tone value in there, and just sort of work in a few more. I'm going to work in a little darker notes back in, so I'll kind of look at where there's some just kind of whip in some of that. Just adds a little bit of a different color by adding a little bit of that burnt sienna. You can see it gives it a little bit of a warmer shadow color. The other one was a lot cooler. And kind of drag some of that in to those petals, and it just kind of works really, really well. Okay, so now there's a lot, that really warmed the flower up a lot. And I'm just gonna go now and add another value of lighter pink. Got lots of different, you know, kind of warm pinks and cool pinks in there, but I just wanna have a few real lighter highlights in there. So I'm just going to get a little bit of that pink in and mix a little bit of that under that pink that's already on my canvas there, on my palette there, and use this little catalyst wedge tool to add some real details. Just adding some of the sides of those petals there. Just dabbing the edge to show that they're kind of, you're seeing part of them come down. And up there. So there's a few little highlights there, but I'm going to add a tiny bit of ultramarine blue into that pink mix just to get a little cooler shadow pink for that area, for some of those flowers. I like to add a bit of that blue pink in there. So just use a little cobalt. In this case I had ultramarine blue because it's the only blue that they had in a giant size like that I could buy. And I'm going to put a bit of that kind of what I call the shadow pink down in some of that, in some of those areas there where it's more kind of in the shadow. So it's light, but it's not bright. It just adds another layer of kind of something interesting going on as well, to have a variety in the pinks. And I always say variety is in greens or pinks. Anything you're doing makes it a little more interesting. Okay. So I'm gonna also just go back to the greens, and I'm gonna add some of that cad yellow and some more that sap, make a nice kind of lighter green. And if it's too green for you, you can always use a bit of that pink in there to dull it down. And a little more white in there. And we can try a bit of that green just for a variety, and just add a little, oh, I want to add a little bit more. You never know until you get it to the canvas, you know, what you're dealing with. So if it's not the right color, don't keep painting. Switch it up so you don't keep mucking up your painting. So I'm going to put a little bit more of that. I'm just going to add a little white to that. And that adds a really pretty contrast to the darker greens. That now you can see why I like to get the dark in before the light, because now I can make some nice leaves that really show out. I really like these peony paintings with the spatulas. Okay, so now that I've got some variety in the green, and I like it with the pink, you can pretty much, if you wanted to, you could have it look really classic and have this kind of wipe away technique background with your pink flowers. Or sometimes what I'll do is I'll mix something kind of similar, but you know, more opaque. So I'll just play around here and mix some, I'm gonna mix some Payne's gray with that burnt sienna and some of the, I've got Payne's gray all over my hand, and some of that green to make up a kind of a similar but different background color, so that I can have some texture. So it's not a flat background, you know, with the, so you can even mix a few colors up, like a few values up. So take some white and so now you have a few different values. You got dark, you can always hold it up to there. See if you want it warmer. I'll add a little more burnt sienna and maybe some of this viridian just to warm it up. I really like the kind of warm color that's going. So that's closer to the background color. So you could pick a few spots if you want, you know, this one. You can cut in some of that background into this one and really look at how pretty that is. Soften that edge there. Take some of that pink and have it going into the background a bit, just like that, and then go put a few notes of it here and there. I really like this color. This is a real classic style kind of version of this. when you use the oil paint, you can kind of do different things like this. So I would say it works. We were wondering if we could do it, and definitely I'm gonna say give it a try if you're into experimenting with new things. I highly recommend this technique using these catalyst wedge brushes. So we tried more than one this time, and it was a bravery test using these new ones, because I've only used the big one, this one here, but why not? And this Lucas paint is a winner, so it works really well, even though, like, if I was buying Cobra brand, they're a lot more expensive per tube. Of course, you're getting maybe a higher quality paint, but for what we're doing here with these large paintings, it's less about, you know, the paint needing to be the right quality, as it is more you're creating a new kind of style of painting with them, so you don't really have to worry about getting it perfect or museum quality ready. Okay, so you could always, for fun, throw some little bit of pink here and there in the background. Creates a little movement. And then other than that, I feel pretty happy about this painting. This one I really like. I'll take a little magenta and maybe use my brush and just sort of put a few little dabs of that in the back into the flowers, just to soften those edges a bit. Okay, I like it. I hope you guys give it a try, and let me know in the comments if you do. And I still have my list of flowers that everyone's, you know, kind of giving me some idea of what other flowers they want to try. So it's kind of, I'm going to work on those too. But I really wanted to try something I felt more confident in with the oil first. So now that I've done it, I highly recommend it. So I really enjoyed it. And as you can see, we just used a basic palette because this is all I could find for the large tubes. And I'll put the links to that in the description, or I'll put the list rather, because you have to go to Jerry's and buy it. I don't think Amazon carries them, but I'm really excited that we did it. And thanks for all of you who asked me to try it in oil. And I'll look forward to painting many more of these with you. Okay, well, thank you everyone for watching, and thank you so much for all your encouragement. Over this past year, I've been on a journey. I switched back from oil to water mixable oil and acrylic paint, and we've been using these catalyst tools, which I've really enjoyed the freedom, because it's helped me to loosen up, and I hope that it helps you to loosen up and be freer with your brush strokes. So I look forward to teaching you in the next lesson, and just paint. Happy painting, everyone. Goodbye.